Lewis-Skelly needs game time. Darmish, do you think he's going to get it at Arsenal?
Look, when he's played really well so far this season. He wasn't more of a regular last season, clearly, but he's doing well. But he's just got someone in front of him who's just been absolutely fantastic for Arsenal this season, and he's made himself undroppable as Ricardo Calafiori. So that's the reason why. It's nothing that Lewis-Skelly is doing wrong. Is he going to get game time? Rob mentioned it there. They are fighting on four fronts. He has been getting some game time outside the Premier League games. It's predominantly in the cup games that he's getting that action. But you don't know what's going to happen. We've been talking about when teams will go back into the market. If there's an injury to Calafiori or another player, then Lewis-Skelly is going to get his opportunity, and then it's up to him to take that opportunity. But because he hasn't been getting that game time, that's why he's not found himself in the England squad. I was at Mikel Arteta's news conference last week ahead of their game against Sunderland on Saturday, and he was directly asked the question about Lewis-Skelly not making that squad, and this is what Arteta had to say.
We are here to support and help each other and to give a good perspective of the situation. And in case of Miles, when you look at his age, what he's already done, is just remarkable. So don't look at the one moment what is happening for you, because maybe it happens for the right reason and today you cannot see it.
Yeah, one of those fronts you mentioned, Darmish, that they are fighting on is the Premier League. Of course, they're 4 points clear at the top. They made heavy investments in the summer. What's the feeling behind the scenes about their transfer activity?
I think there's a degree of satisfaction about how the transfer window went. They went big. Clearly, close to £300 million was spent, but they signed players. There was a lot of method behind their signings. That they signed players not only to go into the first team, but also to really add depth to that squad. Because if you look at the profile of players, of some of the players that they've signed, they can play in multiple positions. If you look at the likes of Gyökeres, clearly was a big priority to play as a striker, but the likes of Christian Mosquera and Piero Hincapié, they can play in central defence, but also at fullback. So if there's injuries in either of those positions, they can come in and fill in. Eberiche Eze, Noni Madueke, they can play in multiple positions across the front as well. Christian Norgard adding experience from Brentford. He hasn't had the game time he probably would have wanted at Arsenal, but whenever he's come in, Mikel Arteta's been full of praise for the player. It's meant that compared to last season, and Alan will have seen what happened last season. Whenever they had injuries last season, it felt like doomsday scenario for Arsenal. It doesn't feel that way this time around, and that's why they've gone 4 points clear despite having a whole host of injuries, and it's kind of meant that January is likely to be a really quiet window for them.
Quite interesting when you look at the rogues gallery of Arsenal signings, because it feels like, as Darmish said, there was very targeted business done, and they got all of their key targets in all of their key positions, and now they have this bulging squad filled with quality, strength in depth, which is the most perfect scenario for a manager, because you never have that fear of, well, if we lose a player, we're okay. When you look at these players, who are the ones for you, Alan, that are perhaps standing out or look like being at this stage really good business?
Well, you have to go to the number 9, because that was the position that Arsenal really needed. They needed a goal scorer to get that scrappy goal from a set play or produce a moment that would just get them a 1-0 lead or get them back in the game. And they missed that for so many times, particularly last year when they was trying to chase the title down. He's massive for me, for them. The other player that I think is probably going to be more influential is Eze. And the reason I say that is because I think Eze can play a number of roles in the team. And in particular give you quality where they really kind of, when Olmegard wasn't fit last year, he can come in now, Eze, and take that exact same level of performance in his own style, because he's a different type of player. He can play off the left, he can play off the right. So those two players in particular. I want to just come back to Miles Lewis-Skelly, because this is important. This is an important thing. Firstly, he's a young player, and the England manager wants him at the World Cup. I'm pretty sure of that, because left back's not a greatest position. So he wants him to play, right? But Arteta, he just wants to win the league or win the Champions League. He ain't letting him go anywhere. So that's a difficult conversation. That young boy be knocking on the door with his agent. Can I see you, gaffer? You know, I've got to play. Okay, don't worry, we've got Champions League games, I'll give you a game. That's what he's going to have to, that is going to be season.
Yeah.
And with my England hat on, I hope he gets enough games to get in the squad because he's a terrific young player.
Yeah, back up in nearly every position. They've got about 2 world-class players in every position.
No, they've bought really well, haven't they? Really well.
So the question is, with your managerial hat on, Premier League managerial hat on, how do you keep everybody happy in that squad then?
Well, it's always easier to keep it happy when you're winning. It's us Premier League managers, when we don't win, we have a very difficult dressing room at times, and that's what you have to negotiate with the squad to a degree of, you know, how you're going to play, give me a chance, Gaffer, etc., etc. When you're at Arsenal, you know, it is difficult when they win for the rest of the squad to keep banging on the door saying, come on, Gaffer, give me a game because we have won. There's nothing to answer. What I would say is that you have to be very, very subtle around the group. You have to definitely give people opportunities. You definitely need to make changes when you're winning. You need to make changes in Champions League games, in Premier League games, to give game time, to justify all the transfers that they've done.
Yeah, Thomas,
that's important.
I think you've kind of said there won't be much movement in January. Are there any other circumstances under which you expect them to bring someone in?
I mean, Arsenal, it's not a window Arsenal usually go big in. And a lot of the big clubs don't usually go big in that window either. The last time they signed players in January was back in 2023. Leandro Trossard, Jakob Kiwior and Jorginho, and 2 out of the 3 definitely were proved to be very successful signings. So we're not expecting them to do business. Back in January, they did try to bring in a striker. There was this clamour, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Arsenal have to buy a striker. They tried to get Ollie Watkins. Aston Villa, we think, wanted 60 million. Arsenal weren't willing to go over 40 million pounds for him. And so, despite the fans saying, why don't we just spend the money because we need a striker, Arsenal took a step back and said, we have to think about the impact this is going to have, not only now, but on our summer plans as well. So if they have a long-term strategy, Arsenal, which usually is directed towards a summer transfer window, then they can't just say, right, let's just go and spend this 60 million pounds in January, because it will have impacted them in the summer. And if you ask Arsenal fans back in January, yes, we do need a striker, and now fast forward to now and ask them, do you think Arsenal did the right thing by keeping their powder dry? I think more often than not, you will hear Arsenal fans saying, actually, we had a great summer transfer window. Would that have been completely possible had we gone out and spent big money in the January window? So I think with that in mind, it's very unlikely Arsenal will go big in this January's transfer window. And you've also got to remember, they're 4 points clear at the top of the table. They've got 6 injuries at the moment to big players. Their captain, Martin Odegaard, is injured. Kai Havertz is injured. Gabriel Jesus, Noni Madueke, Victor Gyökeres, who Alan's just spoken about, and Gabriel Martinelli. They are all going to start coming back after the international break. And it's that old cliche, isn't it? It's going to feel like a new signing. But for some of them who haven't played at all this season, it's going to be a real boost for Arsenal. And then you'll think, this squad is looking really, really strong. Do we need to do anything in January anyway?
Yeah, so fairly relaxed about any additions. Then what are your thoughts on that and their January business?
I don't see them making any moves in January. I really don't. They could probably suffer 2 serious injuries between now and the end of January and still have enough cover. I genuinely feel that when you looked at Manchester City's performance at Liverpool at the weekend, you have to say they're probably the strongest challengers now to Arsenal winning the league. And if I was Arteta, I would still look in my dressing room and think I've got enough. He's definitely got the toolbox this year to win the league, and I think everybody suggests that, and now we're going to have to see if it plays out.